Legacy institutional finance operates on siloed databases and manual reconciliation. Resolving corporate actions across multiple parties slows the flow of capital to a halt. Decentralized finance achieves consensus across a distributed network, but operates detached from legal and economic reality. Code execution means little if it violates a court order or an operating agreement. This leaves the industry trapped in a trust gap, caught between subjective reputation and unanchored code. Relying on a firm's reputation or a network's consensus mechanism creates a structural vulnerability. Solving the trust gap requires an architecture that derives certainty from physical laws and legal reality. The Institutional Digital Asset Operating System, or IDAOS, provides a deterministic solution to the trust gap. This framework highlights two primary design goals: institutional certainty and audit-proof compliance. It specifies the underlying fiduciary behavior of an asset, maintaining technological neutrality so the system isn't tied to a single platform. The engine driving this behavior is the trust compiler. It translates real-world legal evidence, like property titles and valuations, into verifiable digital financial instruments. Treating legal reality as literal source code makes compliance a computational constant. The IDAOS architecture is governed by rigid, invariant axioms, acting as physical laws. Axiom 1 states reality precedes representation. Digital objects cannot possess rights absent in law. Axiom 5 mandates state verifiability, requiring every action to produce legal, operational, and cryptographic evidence. The digital twin acts as the aggregate root of the architecture. It independently manages internal subsystems, including a rights graph, financial state, and an append-only audit ledger.
Tokens are merely lightweight downstream pointers transferring interests associated with the twin. They create no intrinsic value. Using the digital twin as an intermediate representation isolates the ingestion of real-world evidence from the final generation of market-ready tokens. Traditional databases often update a balance by overwriting the previous entry, which introduces silent accounting errors. The IDAOS relies instead on absolute mathematical determinism. To enforce this, the architecture uses Command Query Responsibility Segregation, or CQRS. This physically separates the intent to change an asset's state from the actual state change. Submitting a command to issue tokens is an untrusted expression of intent. It hits a strict firewall, testing context, governance, and business logic. Once validated, the command is compiled into an immutable event and permanently appended to the twin's event ledger. Preventing humans or external systems from directly mutating the database eliminates the risk of phantom states and accounting errors. Integrating external data, like pricing oracles or bank APIs, into a deterministic ledger creates a vulnerability. To protect the engine, the architecture relies on a reality boundary. A reality compiler intercepts external feeds, stripping them of executable agency, and crystallizes these observations into static evidence packages. These packages are stored in a read-only reality cache, awaiting core engine queries. Axiom 6 dictates that time creates eligibility, not state. We treat time as an observed piece of evidence rather than an active trigger. Time simply creates the conditions for a policy to be evaluated. Sequestering time and external data as passive evidence allows an auditor to perfectly replay the system's history years later without relying on live API calls. The Trust Compiler's policy engine governs access to the event ledger. Legal charters and mandates compile into a machine-readable directed acyclic graph. This structure deterministically resolves legal precedents, ensuring a regulator order overrides an operating agreement. Upon a command request, the engine executes an evaluation sprint, tracing multiple branches simultaneously to test the action. Every evaluation produces a permanent decision record, which exists even if the command is rejected. Compiling policy into a graph makes the entire system natively self-documenting. Compliance becomes a rigorous mathematical proof of intent. The completed IDAOS stack is a 4-plane operating system. The experience layer is where humans submit intent, and the governance control plane handles routing. Beneath them sit the trust compiler, acting as the kernel, and the data plane, the immutable home of the digital twins. The exact same deterministic engine can run as an offline air-gapped sovereign vault or as an online connected networked gateway. Decoupling the human interface from the underlying data planes neutralizes the risk of unauthorized state mutation. These engineering choices enable the rewind and verify protocol for instant audits. The system calculates the current state of a digital twin by replaying the event ledger through a deterministic reduce function. Traditional audits rely on months of data sampling and manual reconciliation. The IDAOS provides instant cryptographic proof instead. An auditor can select any specific millisecond in history and mathematically reconstruct the exact financial state and the exact governance policy active at that moment. Within this framework, institutional trust is a strict, undeniable mathematical calculation.